Hello everyone, David here, Mix by Stevie. Today I have the great pleasure to have here Andrew Scheps. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Today I just wanted to chat with you about a couple of things, about hot topics, so to speak, in the music industry right now. And so I will just start with something that nobody ever touched. Analog versus digital. No, I'm kidding.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like there's a subject beaten to death. That's it. We're not going to talk about that. No,
good.
In all seriousness, the main subject of today's chat wanted to be AI specifically in music, and overall the state of the music industry and what we think is going to happen, because I have many ideas and I'm sure you do too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would start with this. The new music generators, tool or threat?
Man, I mean, I could give you the one-word answer, but I have a feeling instead we're going to talk for a long time about this. So we're just talking about music generation. We're not going to talk about any of the other stuff yet.
Right.
So there have been like chord progression generators for years. I mean, Band in the Box, that's been around for, it's got to be 25 years or something like that. So there's always been stuff like that, and people have loved it. You know, like, oh my God, this will give me help writing my songs. And so that's always been there. It's just a crazy powerful version of it.
Yeah.
Right? The thing about the AI models, first of all, there's the whole training set thing, and we can save that for a second because that's a gigantic topic. But the way they work is you train them on stuff, and then they generate something that is within their training set. Like, they don't have like super original ideas. It's never going to go completely outside the box. And it also will never be exactly like something it was trained on, because from what I understand, it would be broken. If it just spits out one of the 100,000 things it was trained on, it's not working properly. But I think the key is that it's not going to make a leap the way a human will. It's not thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the prompts you give it, and it's why there's six-figure salaries just for people who write prompts, because it doesn't know what the hell it's doing.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't know it's generating music. So it's all about the stuff it's trained on, and then the prompts you give it. That is just the things that generate instrumental tracks, or even, I mean, they're generating vocals, and I've heard some stuff that's super scary with that. Yeah. But it's not, I mean, technically it's writing songs. Yeah, it's not going to be the next, like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, even because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think as for right now, what is available to the public is machine learning, and it's not really a sentient artificial intelligence that could potentially, you know, if that was the case, come up with something, right? So, and that's...
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important. Like, the words have shifted a lot. It used to be that everybody realized that machine learning was a piece of the puzzle to get to AI, which is artificial intelligence being, you know, something from nothing.
Yeah.
But I think what happened is that the LLMs, the large learning modules that use this machine learning, have gotten so gigantic that it feels as though they're doing something from nothing. But like, I had it last night, I had it read the Pro Tools reference guide, and I've just been asking it questions. And, you know, its answers are weird, but it read the manual. I mean, it's 1,700 pages, and it read in about 5 seconds. And it has coherent answers to everything. And I asked it to explain stuff like I was 5, like I was an angry teenager, like I was 90. And it had explanations that it was framing differently. And so it's unbelievably impressive, but it's technically, in the old school definition of the word, it's not AI. But now that definition is shifted, so it is AI, but it's not making leaps.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole idea for this video, it's funny. So I had to kind of tell you and break down the subject for a second. I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post by, I think was Ria, and they were basically promoting this petition signed by 10,000 plus artists. Maybe you saw it, right?
Yeah.
So to somehow stop AI from learning and appropriating, the intellectual property, so to speak, of artists and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I thought when I saw that, excuse me, was this is, commendable and everything, but it feels like too late. I've always thought if you want to control this, you should have prevented it. Once you have to fight it, it feels like a little too late. And then the next profile was yours, and I was like, I gotta ask Andrew. It's funny. No, it's also because I respect your work and your intelligence so much. Like there's
this is one of those subjects where I feel like I've learned a huge amount and I know nothing.
Yeah.
So this is going to be just based on things told to me by people like the whole thing about it being too late. I mean, that is the modern tech industry.
Yeah.
They just do whatever the hell they want, and then people can catch up. I mean, look at what Spotify did to music streaming. There was rampant piracy, and then it's like, well, okay, paid streaming services are going to save us.
Yeah.
How's that working out? The amount of income has gone up exponentially and whatever, and I think pre-downloading, the music industry was taking the piss. They were just printing money.
We are agreeing on that.
So yes, I think that it is too late because that's the way tech works. They disrupt stuff, but they disrupt it without a business model that actually works. That's the crazy thing to me. Spotify started making money like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
They've been losing money, and the major labels are the one that invested in them in the first place. They've done nothing but lose money, but their CEO is a billionaire. If either of us had an idea that lost money, we would lose our house.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We'd be on the street.
Yeah.
It's insane. Uber files an IPO that states in it that they will never make money.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. That's a whole business model, but that is the disruption thing. And so, yes, it's too late for that. But here's something that someone said to me. First of all, everything because of the way the tech industry outpaces everything, regulation is never wholesale. It's done in individual lawsuits. So the guidelines for this are going to be settled in individual cases that are brought against tech companies by musicians or something like that. And then a judge will make a decision, and that becomes the precedent for the next decision. And eventually, you've got this body of law where people can say, well, okay, I can do this and I can't do that. But at the moment, you have no idea. Yeah. Okay, so here's the super depressing explanation of why not only is it too late, but it might, and people are going to hate me for this, but it might actually even be a flawed idea. So, have you ever written some music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have you ever listened to other people's copyrighted music in your entire life?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Is your work inspired by their work?
100%.
Done.
Yeah, I know exactly where you were going with this. Yeah, exactly.
It's brutal, and it's absolutely brutal, and I think that, like, you get the stuff with blurred lines, where you've got one artist being accused of directly ripping off one particular song from one other artist. Okay, so now you're saying I'm vaguely ripping off every artist that's ever done a pop song. I don't know, man. It's so hard. But the fact that it's a machine is what's driving people crazy. And it's exactly like when they started automating assembly lines and robots came in.
Yeah.
A lot of humans lost jobs, and that's why there are trade unions to protect stuff like that. And unfortunately, music, like, we're screwed. There's never been a union for anything in our industry.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, that's a bit of a brain dump, I know.
Yeah, but, no. It's awesome. That's exactly why we are here. It takes me to two other related points. One is, as you said, like, copyright laws are like beyond the gray area at this point, And,
as it relates to that.
Yeah. And my fear reading that post, it was also they were asking for regulation, like you said, and I'm like, how? Even if we put regulation in place, how do we enforce it? Like, who's gonna check if the result of an AI has been trained on something that was supposed to or allowed to or not? I mean, it seems crazy, and it's the same thing with the Grammy. I know the Grammy has the new rules for AI music. There's a category, if I don't remember wrong about it, and then everything else needs to be not. How do you enforce it? How do you enforce all that?
I don't know. I mean, and like copyright in the States, there is a huge body of actual law, not just court cases. I mean, there is the Copyright Act of whatever, and they've been trying to update it because it's so outdated, it means nothing.
Yeah.
So there have been additions to it to try and cover digital music and things like that. I feel like you need to look at the output of these systems where, like, there was that amazing app that you would give it a subject and it would give you a Drake tune with him like sitting courtside.
Yep.
But that was trained on Drake to do Drake stuff, and it was never monetized, and they did the music themselves. It was like they made their own music library because they knew you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole who owns your, I can't remember what it's called right now. There's a very specific legal term. Your appearance and your voice.
Yeah,
and
I know
all
what
that.
you're talking about. Yeah.
And for years, apparently, movie actors have been signing it away. It's part of the contract because that's how they're doing
movies.
You know, AI, like Carrie Fisher's still in Star Wars movies and stuff. That's been around for a long time, but that's for one specific person, and that's totally different than, like, man, give me a pop song that's this tempo. Oh, wait, that's too happy. Give me something darker. And it does it. So yeah, the enforcement. I mean, have you seen? There are all these companies that are saying it's ethically sourced learning models now.
What is ethically sourced?
It's like it's organic milk, and it's ethically sourced AI. It is. It's impossible. It's impossible to know because I mean, if you just tell it, like, get it a subscription to a couple of streaming services and say go for it.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that would have to be in real time, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's super easy to circumvent any kind of, regulation in that sense.
And the reason people hate it is because it's a machine. Like, what if you had this group of 40 musicians who could crank out thousands of songs a day? Like, no one would care. They'd just be mad at them, and they'd sue them for individual things. But
but that is the other point. I mean, at the end of the day, I fear that I'm gonna eat my own words later on, but I feel like for as good as you can get, people connects with people. Who are you gonna go see live? A laptop, right? Or even if you give the song to a puppet and put it on stage, it's not the same thing than going to see Adele. It is not. It will never be.
No,
in my opinion, it will never be.
And like when they had the hologram Tupac, but that's because it's Tupac.
Exactly.
It's not because we got a hologram actor, a rapper who's going to do some stuff. Like, that's not compelling. There have been a couple hologram pop stars coming out of Asia.
Yeah.
And this is like years ago.
Yeah.
They were starting to do this where they've actually made that personality be a thing. But that personality is performing music written specifically for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and they're going to be, I can't wait to see comments. In fact, disable comments, man. I don't want to know. It's brutal. It's brutal to talk about it. But you have to try and be objective and think all the way to the end. And I've done it 10 or 11 times now and gotten to different places as I get more information. And like the day when it was explained to me about well, if I write music, but I've listened to other people's music along the way, like maybe that's a problem too. That was, you could say it's like a light bulb going on. It's like someone smashing light bulbs in my head. It was horrible, but it's so obvious. Yeah. It's right.
Yeah, how many times it happened to me, and many times as I was a musician before being an engineer, that I was coming up with a riff on a guitar and then I realized, shit, this is Pantera. Like after 2 days that I've been playing it. So it did happen. It does happen all the time. Here's a crazy theory that I want you to analyze for me. and I hope I'm not gonna give the idea to the labels to do that. What if they fill up a room with super machines and have them come up with all the combination that are possible in music and, you know, copyright all of that, basically owning music as a whole. I mean, at this point, we can, like, there's some things that sound really stupid, but we've seen worse.
Well, but that's the other thing, and I actually haven't talked to anyone about it. So we've all been talking about the copyrighted material made by humans training the machines spit some stuff out. But can they copyright something made by a learning model? I mean, what's going on with that? Because there's stuff that's been released. Is it copyrighted? Or is it just someone owns the master side?
Right.
You know,
right. Because a machine can hold copyrights. That's the other issue. And partially also...
But can you say that the prompt engineer owns the copyright? No. So that's a really interesting question. I have no idea, but I know a couple of people I'm going to ask as soon as we finish.
Okay.
Because that's fascinating. I hadn't even thought about that. That's another step down the chain.
Right? That because I always think this. I tend to think this. Like while I do have a hope in humanity, I also observe that you give humanity a tool, and they will somehow abuse it and overuse it and misuse it.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. And a lot of the arguments for how AI in general can make our lives better rely on people being generous.
Yeah.
And we all know that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, we learned this the hard way. I made a short video like some time ago. It was like a blurb that came out of my head. AI should do our laundry so we can work on music, not the other way around. Right? Like,
yeah, it's supposed to free us up. It's supposed to do the drudgeries to free us up. But then you're immediately, man, we're going way off into the weeds where everybody's going to hate me. But then what you're talking about is universal credit. Like, you need to pay everybody in the country $3,000 a month, at least.
Yeah.
You just have to give them money. But if you don't tax the people who have lots of money, then you don't have the money to hand out, and people see it as entitlement. Like, the whole political argument about doing it is difficult because, I mean, that is basically one of the tenets of socialism would be you make sure everybody has what they need. But what they need now is a hell of a lot more than what they needed back in the 50s.
Yes, 100%. And also, don't you take away meritocracy at that point?
Yeah.
It's probably going to also affect... I mean, I think there's always going to be people that have a different drive, right? So just because they build a Prius Lamborghini doesn't stop making supercars, right? That's my... But at the end of the day, it will... I feel it will blunt even musicians and creativity or the drive to become an artist or to... Because at the end of the day, I think it was for me... I wasn't making music 20 years ago because I thought I was good at it. I was making music because I had something to purge out, right? And somewhat even unconsciously connect with other human beings. This part is like, and plus the process of making music how we used to, a bunch of people in a room, right?
Yeah.
You know, the band, the engineer, the recording engineer, the arranger and everything, like all this has already been lost because everybody works in isolation at their home at their laptop, and now this feels like so disconnected. It doesn't belong to music, I feel.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, even if you were starting right now, you would still make music.
Yes.
You would, because you have to. And I think that creative artists will still do well, and maybe they'll even do better because it'll be, instead of having the stuff that's it's a little more creative than the other thing, like the really good artists are going to stand out like crazy in the midst of this.
I agree.
Okay, so here's the sort of flip side of that. You can't say only super talented people should be able to do music.
Yeah, no.
But at the moment, so many people that want to be doing music as a job are doing it as a hobby because they're not making money at it. So, I mean, really, that's not going to change. But I think what it changes is this almost like I could hit the lottery thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be harder to hit the lottery, maybe. Here's an example. It doesn't even matter what we're talking about. So I was at, it was like a little 40-minute talk I was at. And this person was talking about innovation in a certain field. And so it started with them showing the output of AI models saying, hey, show me what a futuristic version of this thing would be. And it just kept being the same thing that already existed. Like, okay, but what if it's made out of wood? What if it's done this? And so but this, first of all, it goes to the fact that it's not created, but it also just proves the point. It can't go outside of its training set.
Right.
Whereas humans can go all over the place. But then at the end of the talk, they were asked, well, if you were designing this thing, like, what would you do? And they just said, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
It's the exact same output in a lot less time from the AI models who've seen everything there is to see and can synthesize 1,000 things that haven't been made that are based on stuff that people use already. So the innovation is going to happen by the same unbelievably tiny percentage of people who innovate as it does right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think the problem is it takes away the hope for some people when they realize, like, wow, I am not a world-class whatever it is. I'm just good at it. But, you know, it's not going to get rid of open mic nights. It's not going to get rid of live bands playing in clubs. Like here, over in the UK, tribute bands are huge.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not as much in the States, or maybe it is once you get out of the big cities. I don't know. But here it's huge. And so you get these amazing musicians, and they go and play an Elton John set, and everybody loves it, and they go to see it. And these are people performing music for money, because if they were performing their own music, they wouldn't be getting paid as much. And then, you know, it just turns into something else. So that stuff's not going to change.
No, absolutely. And I always say, like, there is a difference. Like, people tend to think that only the top 1% of musicians or engineers or everything, that's the only way. It's either black or white. There's hundreds of thousands of people below that line that make a living making music, or maybe they don't even care about becoming a known superstar and recognized on the street, but they play massive venues, and I know some of them. Like, they don't, you know, they're not like known as Drake or, you know, the top of the Billboard chart, but they make a living making music. They make money. So sometimes they make more money than the bigger artists that are like in a bad contract with a label. You know, we've seen some. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The message in
and
this
I get
video
a lot of people.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
The message in this video definitely do not want to be lose hope. Actually, quite the opposite for me.
I was just going to say here, when I moved, because I'm out in the middle of the country in England. I'm like the nearest city is Birmingham, but that's 45 minutes away.
Right.
And so where I am is nothing like Birmingham. It's not like I'm a suburb sort of thing. And I was shocked by how many unbelievable musicians there are here. I mean, a lot of them are better than anyone I've ever worked with. And I've gotten to work with some amazing musicians. Like, they're crazy good. And they have no interest in making their own record. Like, they're into it for playing.
Yeah.
And some of them have a job because they don't want to be playing gigs that they don't want to take. Some of them just play gigs all the time, and they tour small little venues just in England, and they're incredible. And that stuff, the human to human, like, you play music, I listen to music thing, that will never go away.
Yeah. That I truly believe that at the end of the day, that, you know, people connect with people. And, you know, and even there are things that we can't see or touch, they're definitely there, you know. Well, then we can go to another subject, because I know we don't have that much time today, still related. What about the AI in mixing for us and for our profession and everything? At this point, I don't see any threat in any way, shape, or form to our art whatsoever, you know? But you tell me what you think, and we've seen some things happening.
I mean, there are two sides to it. One is the tools that mixers have now.
Yeah.
Which are insane. But I mean, like, Ozone has been able to listen to your track for years now, and it spits out a decent preset for you, but again, it's trying to match something that it's already been told. Not like, it might be cool if the kick were way too loud. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but the tools are insane. Like, the demixing tools, I use spectral layers all the time from Steinberg. to, like, I'll get stereo drums from somebody.
Yeah.
I can split it into kick, snare, rest of the kit, whether it's an acoustic kit or programmed, and it's as if they were recorded separately, and I can just do what I need to do as a mixer. So that kind of stuff is incredible, and that's exponentially better every year. So I absolutely love that. The holy grail of plugin companies has been to be able to have mixing plugins like forever, and nobody's really cracked it. There's the whole thing with Spike Stent announcing the Spike AI thing, and huge backlash. I don't know Spike well at all, but every time I've talked to him, he's super cool. Yeah. He's such a nice guy, and he's a great mixer, and this is something he's been doing with his son. So I don't know what it's supposed to be really, because I don't know anybody who's actually seen it. Right. Neither did I, now that I think about it. So it's, I don't know if it's proof of concept or they've actually built it or whatever, but it's just another tool for the people who are trying to learn, I think. But as of right now, you pop something through Ozone, you can release it. You don't have to be a great mixer to use Ozone. Like, you can get a decent balance, pop it through any of these AI tools. And I'm using Ozone only because it's been around forever, and now it's a true AI thing, and whereas it used to be, a little dumber than that or whatever. Again, it's not going to be making, like, out of the blue creative decisions, but then again, do you need that on every mix? No. Yeah. I mean, we'd be fired, I think, if we tried to reinvent the wheel every single time we mix. We hear something, we get inspired by a thing and go nuts with it, but probably 95% of what we do or more is just we hear things in a certain way, we kind of have an idea of what the client wants. Go with it. That's where we go. That's where we go. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's not really that much different than having you, me, or Tom doing presets at the end of the day. It's just probably a pool of presets that analyzes the track and, applies whatever combination. Yeah. And it's not like every indie artist in the world is trying to hire us to mix. No. This is all about threshold. Like, how good does the music need to be? Well, can we AI generate it or get somebody just to crank it out? Yeah. How good does the mix need to be? Can you throw some AI listening plugins on it and do what it says, or do you need somebody to finish it? And that threshold is that's what's going to change. The threshold's going to go up as the stuff that can be done automatically gets better. Right. But it's not going to go all the way up. I think music, the thing that people forget is that music is so important to so many people. They can't fathom. I mean, but that said, there are a lot of people I know who don't own a single record. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you ask, what do they listen to? Like, I don't know. It's just playlists all the time. But they're not the people who were ever buying records. Yeah, no. I think the pandemic showed, like, even to people who are not actively thinking about this, what would have been that period of lockdown where we were, like, forced in our houses without movies, music, and books. We would all be dead probably by now by suicide. I think, art is underrated in a world where tech is king and changing the universe all the time, and, all the educational pushes for STEM subjects and stuff. And art is seen as this thing like, if you get paid to do that, you're not even working. And, there are a million memes about it and whatever. But whether it's hard work or not, and I think we both know that there have been weeks where we haven't slept because it's really hard work. People need it. It's what makes us human. A million people have said it, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Cats like to play, but they're not reading books. They're not being inspired. When they're looking at a bird, it's not because they think it's beautiful. It's because they think it looks delicious. Yeah. Like, that's the difference. Yeah, 100%. And humans love art. They need that. Yeah, absolutely. Need is the right word. It really is. I want to say the last portion of the video it regards the value of the music. It feels like, I don't know if it's the labels that created this or Spotify, probably both of them. Probably the fact that hundreds of thousands of songs are released every day, more in one day than was like in a whole year, like 20 years ago. But it feels like
music has been devalued so much.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a solution to this? And what?
No.
So, for example, I personally think I don't think the Spotify method is gonna last. Something has to give. Something has to change because musicians are not really getting paid fairly at all, while the guy is a multi-billionaire. Like there's something is off. So I don't think that model will continue for a long. What do you think could be an evolution of like consuming music and artists getting paid fairly?
I think people don't want to pay for it because it was free, and the mistake, and it's why Uber will never turn a profit, is because if they charged what it actually cost, then they're not cheaper than a cab in New York or London. But they don't. So they lose money, and they take out most of that on their drivers, who have no benefits and whatever. And the music is the same way, but the employees are just doing the tech. They're not making the music. So you actually get to distance yourself from the people who are getting hammered. But it's not going to change. I mean, that's the price. If you go to somebody and say, do you love music? Oh my God, I love music so much. Like, great. $50 a month, $75 a month, because that will start to help to support people. No one's going to pay it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to pay it because I'm used to the prices. So we're screwed there. But the one thing that I see that is hopeful, and it's barely making a dent, is that because online distribution is so easy now, there's more and more fan to artist with nobody in the middle. Like I have a small label, and on my label, I've got a band called Low Roar. Their Low Roar fans are rabid. They love the band. For 5 or 6 years, we had my store on my site, and then the band had a store on the band site. Nobody bought anything from me. They paid the exact same amount of money to the band, who, of course, like I'm paying to make all that stuff anyway. Right. So the money was going to be split exactly the same way. It didn't matter. But in that instance, I was the man. So people will give money to artists that they love. And there's the Patreon thing, when you can subscribe for $5 a month to an artist you love. I think that's good. I think people are buying vinyl. Great. The profit margin on vinyl kind of sucks. Yeah. It's like you need to be charging between $25 and $30 for a single album to make any money. Yeah. I know this for a fact.
I just did pressing. 2 vinyls for 2 of my clients as well. Yeah, they were releasing the vinyl, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky if you really cheap out, you're paying $12 a record by the time it's shipped. Yeah. Yeah. And then you still have to ship it and all that. But I think that's one thing. I think that the myth that live performance is made up for that income, that is absolutely a myth. If you're not the headliner in arenas or bigger, you lose money touring most of the time. You either play local or you have to headline arenas. Like that's it. And again, this is not me making it up, and it's not anecdotal. Okay. I've paid for bands to go on tour to open for Hozier, for Gogo Bordello, and they're driving a van themselves. They've got one extra person who does front of house and tour manages, and they lose money. A lot of money. But people see them, and hopefully it transfers into something else. But
I did that hard. Too. So no, 100%. I did that too when I was on. I can confirm all of that firsthand. It was freaking horrible. That's why I much rather be in the studio, comfortable, clean with my meals and everything, than on the road grinding.
But they're never going to start charging the right amount of money for streaming services, because even with that model, and even with him being a billionaire, they lose money. Yeah. Yeah, because they pay such a huge percentage to the labels to give to the artists.
Yeah, I was exactly thinking how much more common will become the direct commerce between the artist and the audience. Because, like, for example, I have a couple of bands. I'll give you an example, Julien-K. During the pandemic, of course, everybody tours got canceled and everything. So he called me, he was like, hey, could you help me out putting something online? And we started a Patreon for them. And after that, they kept doing it, even when things went back to normal and we're still playing. And they kept doing it, and they built up such, again, a loyal fan base on that platform that they raised over $20,000, I think, for their next record, which was literally, paid by the fans, but they didn't just go online and say like, hey, give us money. No, they were actually going on live stream every day, involving the people in the record, showing the progress of the album, and so I think that's really something cool, and it could definitely be somehow an alternative to what we have today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what fans want, is a personal connection with the artist. The problem is, though, even if they're only given $5 a month, are they going to be able to do it for more than 5 artists? Probably not.
No, probably not.
The difference before was, first of all, the profit margin when it was all physical media was much higher. But labels were also, in general, spending more money on artists. They'd let them, like, okay, the third record needs to do something. You would get developed. It wouldn't be like if you don't get something going in the first 10 minutes, you're gone, which definitely happened when the money started going away. It's brutal, but it's always been brutal to try and be an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, I think the difference now, and we know more, and there's a easier way to put information out in the internet. Before, only a few, like a certain circles knew about it. Now it's like everywhere, because the information is out there for everybody. Quick question, and then I'll let you go, because I know we have run out of time, but is artist development equal catalog? Because the one thing, like, I did a few projects with Dweezil Zappa, like in the past 2 years, with catalog, like Deep Purple, like, and I'm thinking, like, dude, these guys made songs like 20, 30 years ago that they still generate revenue. That is crazy, when right now, like a Billboard top 10 single, it's gone after 4 weeks, and that's it. So is this also why it's because labels are not doing, the artist development, but they go after whoever maybe is already somewhat popular, no matter why they are popular, maybe like from TikTok, maybe from something like that, and then they just run it for like 6 months and then up to the next?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. If you think about, like, in the 60s, someone would hear an artist and say, they're amazing, they need work. I mean, go back and look at the story of Kate Bush, when Gilmore brought her to EMI, and I mean, it was years before her first record came out. They're like, she's an amazing talent, we're going to sign her as a writer, and eventually she'll be ready to make the first record. So obviously that's not happening now.
Yeah.
But that's because they had money, and you had people at the labels who were very much, I mean, it's the artist and repertoire thing. They used to pick the songs and say who was going to record them. And now it's totally different. It's about getting budgets and spending budgets, and you've got to justify the money you're spending. So you justify signing them by saying, well, look, they've already got this huge listener base. And then you justify who you're hiring by what they've already done. You can't get your name on the wheel of blame for hiring somebody who's done 5,000 hit records.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah. So that part's, it's almost just kind of like protecting yourself from it. But that's the business. I mean, I'm not making a judgment about that, other than that's what it's turned into. Yeah, it does make things happen so fast. And also, like we're talking about how many songs are released a day. I mean, I could ask, hold on, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, because I think it's way more than what you said.
Back to the AI thing.
Yeah, exactly, because, they're smart. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing they know. Hold on. How many songs are released every day?
I said more than 100,000.
As of 2023, 120,000. Well, there you go. You were almost dead on.
All right. I'm almost as good as ChatGPT.
Yeah, so that's a day.
That's so crazy.
There's going to be stuff that, but also, I think, like, if you go back to Deep Purple, like, whatever year that album came out, look at the percentage of albums. Like, we think, like, for me, 1971 is a magic year, and I could name 10 or 15 records that came out in 71 that were awesome. That's 10 or 15. Like, how many records came out just in the Western Hemisphere?
Yeah.
A lot more than 15. Yeah. Not as many as come out now, but it's always been where there's a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, I absolutely.
And then Nirvana shows up, you know.
Yeah. We are gonna have to do like a part 2 when we know more and we see more where AI goes. You know?
I want to tell everybody who's in the midst of writing a horrible comment about me, I will have a totally different story when I've learned more in 6 months. I've completely changed since 6 months ago.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
You know, so keep an open mind and don't troll me.
Yeah, everybody's going to love this video. Everybody's going to love it.
But this has been awesome, man. To be able to actually talk about this stuff in depth, it's great to have a good conversation about it.
Likewise. I am beyond happy we made this happen. Thank you so much again. Will I see you at NAMM?
Yes, I will be at NAMM. Absolutely.
Absolutely. If I don't talk to you before then, I will definitely see you at NAMM. Thank you again so much for being on the show. Guys, post your comments down below. Be nice.
Nice.
And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you again.
Awesome.